Hello, and welcome to another 5 Minutes with Mark. We're continuing in chapter 6, verses 14 through 29. King Herod heard of it, for Jesus' name had become known. Some were saying John the baptizer has been raised from the dead, and for this reason these powers are at work in him. But others said it is Elijah. And others said it is a prophet, like one of the prophets of old. But when Herod heard of it, he said, John, whom I beheaded, has been raised. For Herod himself had sent men who had arrested John, bound him, and put him in prison on account of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because Herod had married her. For John had been telling Herod, it is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. And Herodias had a grudge against him and wanted to kill him, but she could not. For Herod feared John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and protected him. When he heard him, he was greatly perplexed, and yet he liked to listen to him. But an opportunity came when Herod on his birthday gave a banquet for his courtiers and officers, and for the leaders of Galilee. When his daughter Herodias came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his guests. And the king said to the girl, ask me for whatever you wish, and I will give it. And he solemnly swore to her, whatever you ask of me, I will give you, even half of my kingdom. She went out and said to her mother, what should I ask for? She replied, the head of John the baptizer. Immediately, she rushed back to the king and requested, I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter. The king was deeply grieved, yet out of regard for his oaths and for the guest, he did not want to refuse her. Immediately, the king sent a soldier of the guard with orders to bring John's head. He went and beheaded him in the prison, brought his head on a platter, and gave it to the girl. The girl gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard about it, they came and took his body and laid it in the tomb. Again, as with Mark, there's really a lot going on here. We may go a little over 5 minutes. But what's been going on is King Herod has heard of Jesus. He's heard of the disciples going out in Jesus' name. And like some of the prophets of the Old Testament, the theory is out there that Jesus may be one of the resurrected prophets or John the Baptist. And so Mark actually takes 12 verses to talk about John's death, which in Mark is a lot of space for something like that. And basically what we know from this verse is that the king had divorced his wife and married his brother's wife. And John had said, hey, that's not a good thing to do. And Herod's wife, Herodias, had a grudge against John and wanted to kill him. But Herod feared John. He liked to listen to him. He was perplexed, but he liked to listen to him. And so that's kind of the setup of the story. And so we get the dance. The king is happy. He likes the dance. And we get this really gruesome scene because the king makes an oath. And in his stubbornness, or in his not wanting to look weak in front of his guests, he offers the daughter whatever she asks for. She goes to her mom. Her mom says John the Baptist head on a platter. And the king was grieved, yet he followed his oath. And then John's disciples came, took his body and laid it in a tomb. Now, I think one of the reasons that the writer of Mark spends so much time on this story is in many ways it mirrors the story of the crucifixion. The leaders of the civil government arrested John and Jesus. The leaders of the civil government had some qualms and really did not want to harm John or Jesus. And yet the events took a turn that led to the death of John and of Jesus. the one big difference that we see in this text is that when John's disciples find out he died, they took his body and laid him in the tomb. When Jesus died, he was really an outsider because his disciples didn't recover his body. An unknown man, someone who wasn't one of the disciples, took his body and laid it in the tomb. Thank you so much for joining us. We will talk to you another time.